Alright folks, Jack here from Peach Guitars, and today I've finally got my hands on the Friedman twin sister amplifier. Let's check it out. Alright, so I don't think this is big news to anyone by this point in the year. Earlier on in 2020, Dave Friedman unveiled the latest addition to his amp lineup. Every year just seems to get better and better for Friedman amps. They keep adding more models, more revisions to existing models, and just, fine tweaks here and there that just make the amps even better and more usable year upon year. But this amplifier, I think, marks a slightly different turn in his kind of lineage as the company goes, because the Dirty Shirley amp was for the longest time probably, at least in the Peach Guitars world, what our customers like. I would say it's probably the most popular amp that they ever made. Single channel, 5881 driven power section, so kind of 6L6 based. A little bit of a different take, whereas Friedman's are nowadays known perhaps more for the high gain stuff that they do very well. The Dirty Shirley was always the one that was the vintage inspired amp. Dave claims that he took a lot of inspiration, at least in the power section, from the JTM 45 Marshall amp, which happens to be one of my favorite amps in the world. And so I kind of associate a lot of the great tones that I love of old Marshalls with what this amplifier was based upon. So when I said this is a drastic change now for this year, what they've done is basically cloned it but kept it in the same box. So there's two in one. This is the twin sister amp. And the twin sister is essentially the Dirty Shirley circuit times two. So what you've got here is a channel switchable Dirty Shirley. And I remember years and years ago I bought a Friedman small box amp, and I remember comparing it directly to the Dirty Shirley. I love both of those amps, but at the time the small box just kind of edged it out because it had the two channels. However, now you've got this option with two channels. I think this is going to make sense for a lot of guitar players who have always wanted that juicy kind of break-up tone that you can roll back your guitar volume to clean up with. But then if you want a higher gain option as well, you can now have that in the amp, though of course you've got many other options which I'm going to cover in just a moment. Okay, so we'll put some pictures of the control panel on the screen. It's basically two identical rows, more or less. What you've got is the standard Dirty Shirley layout of 3-band EQ, bass, middle and treble. You've got a master volume for each channel, and you've got a gain control for each channel as well. Now where the twin sister differs from the Dirty Shirley on its control panel is that you've got a couple of global controls, namely presence and depth, which affect both channels. So while you've got individual EQ for each channel, those global controls will affect both. You've also got two switches for each channel. You've got a bright switch, which is just 2-position, on or off basically, and the standardized 3-position gain structure switch, which I think works great on this amp. It was a revision that they made on the Dirty Shirley a few years ago, and it just totally widened the ballpark of tones that that amp was capable of, because then you could go from clean to break up to high gain really easily. Now what I've done in this video is I've given you 3 different clips with the amp, or 3 settings with the amp. I wanted to show you humbucker tones courtesy of a Gibson Les Paul, single coil tones courtesy of a custom shop Strat, and I want to show you how well the gain position switch works to give you those 3 tones I mentioned: a clean tone, more of a breakup tone, and then more of a high gain tone. And actually for the high gain tone with the Strat, I just pinned the gain. And it's one of the things I love about this amp is that it responds, despite being a master volume modern amp, it responds like an old amp would. When you crank the gain, it doesn't get fuzzy and fizzy in an artificial kind of way. It sounds like you've taken a non-master volume amp and just pinned it. And then you've got Dave Friedman's fantastic master volume control to actually regulate the volume output. So it's a very well thought out design. I think you can kind of tell that this is a design that Dave loves and has worked on and tweaked for years and years, and now he just decided to give you 2 of that circuit in one box. So we've got the 1x12 combo version. There is a head version as well, if that's what your preference is. But I've got to say, the combo in this kind of slightly oversized 1x12 cab just sounds fantastic. I haven't actually tried the head yet, but obviously it's going to be more or less the same thing. So I also wanted to show the versatility of this amp, which I don't think any of the other Friedman amps quite do as well, which is how it takes pedals. So not only have you got a great tube buffered effects loop in here, but you've also just got a really responsive, quite high headroom input section, I find, so that you can use any kind of pedal you like in the input, and it just takes it really cleanly. So I'm using a bit of reverb from a Line 6 HX Effects, which is straight in the front end of the amp. I'm not using the loop. And I also just wanted to show you on the clean clip with the Strat, how it takes overdrive pedals. So I'm using the Kingtone Dualist just for a little bit of a boost in that clean section. And I think you'll find that with effects and drive pedals, this amp just laps it up. Perhaps like no other Friedman you might have heard before, though if you're familiar with the Dirty Shirley, you will appreciate the magic of the twin sister as well. folks, hopefully you enjoy the playing clips that you will have heard. I think this amp kind of speaks for itself, perhaps better than any other amp that we sell. I think a lot of people are aware of Friedman, and those that are aware of Friedman are aware of the Dirty Shirley, the platform that this twin sister amp is based upon. It's just one of those amps that you can plug into with any guitar and try and play any style, and it's just going to be a real comfortable experience. Some amplifiers don't give you that experience, but this one really, really does. And like I explained as well, if you want to use some effects with it, it just laps it up. The whole gamut is kind of there, and it just does it in a really, really sweet way that I personally really like, and I think a lot of people watching and a lot of our customers at Peach Guitars will agree it just works. And that's about all there is to say about the Friedman twin sister. It just works. Alright folks, thanks a lot for watching. If you want any more information about this amp or any of the other Friedman amplification offerings that we stock, or the guitars or the effects that I've talked about in this video, then click the link in the description below and head to peachguitars.com to do so. Until next time though, take care, and I'll be seeing you soon. So thanks a lot for watching folks, take care, and I'll see you soon.